Hey Clashers, Super Yetis are now in the game, and I will show you the best strategies for this new Super Troop. Because in my opinion, they have a similar strength as Root Riders, and that says a lot. They have just one weakness, and that is walls. But you can really easily overcome that with building armies around this. So let's take a look at the best strategies for this new troop. And the most simple one, that is just 10 Super Yetis. That's right, 9 on your own, and then in your clan castle another one. The pet, which is working the best with this combination, or with the Super Yeti in general, is the Yak. You can nicely put it just on the Warden, and you will just have so much more power. The approach of this strategy is super straightforward and really simple. All you have to do is have your king on one corner with the Archer Queen. They can funnel each other in there, and then we have on the other corner the siege barracks with two of those electro might spawning Super Yetis, and then everything else in between. The flank or the side you want to enter from is just wherever, to be honest. You're not relying on a siege machine or anything. You can just go into anything where you feel like the funnel on those corners is somewhat easy. After that, you're just relying on the Yak and on the jump spells to get to the core, and as soon as those Super Yetis are inside the core, watch the base disappear. Because they're just so tanky, they deal so much damage with raging the Electromites up. It is crazy, it is just so insane. The Royal Champion just in the middle to make sure that you have an Electro Aura in there, so the clan castle troops are no issue whatsoever either. And you see it right here, the base just disappears. It is really crazy how good this is, and it's pretty much now the ground version of the Mass Dragon attack, which you already see in the game. Just Mass Dragons and overpower a base. Now you can just use Mass Super Yetis and overpower the base as well, because Yetis always had the weakness of Spring Traps. Super Yetis don't have that. While the Super Yeti is not as great in the blimp as the regular Yeti, you can just use it in ground mass attacks or even smash attacks, and it's going to wreck bases. Let's take a look at a more controlled approach of the Mass Yeti, which is with the Mass Invis Charge, which is on the obvious side because, well, we just talked about dragons, and what is really popular right now with dragons? That's right, Royal Champion Charge with a ton of invis spells. And we're doing exactly the same. One thing might stand out, and that is no Eternal Tome. The reason for this is that there is no power issue. You pretty much never lose all of your Super Yetis, and this means what other equipment can empower your push even better. Rage Jam is the obvious one. Healing Tome could work, but even if you're healing your troops back up again, you're not going to generate more Electromites, so that is somewhat useless. So instead, we're going with a Life Gem, because making sure that those Electromites can really reach the buildings they want to jump into, because they don't have that many hit points. But let's talk about the attack itself. Where do you start? And to be honest, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whatsoever. Royal Champion, my plan was to get into the core. Do I get there? No, not even close. You're trying to create pathing to some degree for your Super Yetis. But because they're just going everywhere anyways, it is kind of like, whatever. I just started the Royal Champion at the bottom side. She's going to have value anyways for those 12 visibility spells with the Fox together. It's a couple of more rotations. And that's it. That's all the value you need. As long as you don't take too much time, because that's the only weakness of this approach, of this strategy. If you're finished before the 1 minute 30 second mark, you're good to go typically. You can just overpower the backhand like it's nothing. Where do you start with the Super Yetis? That's as well really simple. On one of the flanks of the Royal Champion. Either where you started or where you finished, for example. I'm starting right here because I felt like the entry point was easier for the Super Yetis. You use one Yeti and one Super Yeti on the outside for funneling purposes, then everything else just into the base. Electro boots whenever you feel like that you can't get into the next compartment, and then we're using as well the new siege machine, which is throwing barrels into the base with more super wall breakers, so we can always make sure that you're getting into the next compartment, even with using the Yak. So like double protection that we're not getting stuck there. As well, the combination of the clan castle is 5 super wall breakers and then 1 loon and 1 babe dragon. The reason for this is that you have 7 barrels in total. So adding more test looms or anything would not really go anywhere, so that's not really needed. Instead, we're really making sure that we have those 7 troops inside the clan castle, and with that, we're getting the most value out of it. In the end, we have, I mean, count 1, 2, 3, 3 or 4. I think we have 3 Super Yetis still alive. No issue whatsoever. Really nicely overpowering the base. But as I said in the beginning, the only problem here is time. I tried it as well with the Fireball and the Rage Gem, but it didn't work out that great. The Life Gem was more consistent, so give it a try. It's just super straightforward. And if you loved the Mass Invis with the Mass Dragons, but you're more a ground type attacker, go for this one. Next one is going to be the Fireball, which I just talked about, but with a regular smash right after. But instead of using Super Witches, we're going to use this Super Yeti for this approach. Otherwise, everything is pretty classic. The unfortunate news, though, is that you can't really fit in the Yak into this army composition, which in power is hurting it a little bit, let's be honest. The strategies which I'm showing you right now are not ranked within power. I'm just showing you overall top strategies, which you then can pick from. But a really important reminder, it works with the Fireball, but I feel like other options are just better because you can bring the Yak in there. Yes, you could try to bring the Yak somewhere different, but the Warden most of the time is the most reliable hero to have the Yak inside the core. On this one, it would just die way too early, which means the Sneezy is the better choice. The next option after the Fireball is just funneling the other side with the Archer Queen of the Siege Barracks, King into the core because you need this Earthquake Boot opening, and then with the Super Yetis in behind. Straightforward and as well somewhat simple if you can find those Fireball locations to get great pathing, great value, and make sure that all of those bases are going to crumble. The one jump, make sure that you can enter into the back end, Archer Queen everything funneling, and I just like to bring the Royal Champion into the core, because why not? I mean, she's not going to go down or anything because she has the extra protection of the Hog Rider puppet with those Electro Boots. And then for the back end, everything is just going to be overpowered. But you will see as well that it is by far the closest of the attack of all of those strategies. But I still think that with the Super Yetis, you are going to have a great combination of Fireball Funnel and the Super Yeti like follow-up pretty much. And even then, even if it does not maybe look as crazy of an overkill, if you really count the Super Yetis, I think we have 2 or 3 still alive. There's still a ton of them. This is always something you should never underestimate. But give it a try. But I think we should now take a look at my personal favorite out of all of the Super Yetis combinations. And in my opinion as well, the strongest. But let's take a look. So we're talking obviously about the Royal Champion charge. And we're pretty much using the Royal Champion charge with the Root Rider strategy by replacing the Root Riders and as well the Super Barbarians with the Super Yeti. The reason for this is that, in my opinion, the Super Yeti has even more power as a troop than the Root Rider. The only difference is that Root Riders can go through walls and, well, we have one hero in the game, which is just great in funneling and opening compartments. And that's the King. So the only difference now which we have is remove the minion prince of the army compared to the Root Riders and just add the King back. With that, we never have any issues with walls, and we always can make sure that those Super Yetis are only knowing one way, and that is going forward. Because if that is the case, they just can't die in this attack. I will show you how many Super Yetis we're going to have alive, because we're starting overall with 5 Super Yetis. Let's see with how many we're going to finish off. How do we approach this? Royal Champion charge in the beginning to create the funneling, create the pathing, then get the Super Yetis into the base. You can use the Siege Barracks with 1 additional Yeti if you want to, and as well the King for funneling and make sure the Super Yetis are going to the right direction. And then the Earthquake Boots with the Spiky Ball is not just funnel nicely, but as well as opening even further into the core. And those 2 key things make sure that the Super Yetis can just go forward and do their thing because they're just so good at it. The one more thing which I like about this approach, which is pretty much the only difference between a Warden charge with the Fireball into a smash and then the Royal Champion charge into a smash, you're exchanging the active ability of the Royal Champion versus the active ability of the Warden. And no big surprise, the active ability of the Warden is just way better. So having that in this attack with the Eternal Tome and the Healing Tome for the core is just keeping not just the healers, but as well the Super Yeti safe. And take a look at this back end. What should I say? We have like a Super Yeti at the bottom side. We have 3 at the top side. 1 is just going down, unfortunately, I think in the middle with the Archer Queen and tanking. But you just have so much power. It is ridiculous. I have no clue how defenses are supposed to take them down with having so many hit points and everything. And well, that's pretty much it. All of the combinations, which in my opinions are going to be crazy good with the Super Yetis. And I'm really looking forward to your feedback, because I've seen plenty of you seem to be a little bit disappointed after the video of yesterday, where you felt like, yeah, the regular Yeti is just the better Super Yeti. Not really, just inside a blimp. The regular Yetis are just way better in my opinion. Way more consistent is the most important word. But Super Yeti in smash and ground attacks is just so freaking good. Give it a try. All of the RB links are going to be down below in the description as soon as the maintenance break is over. And I will hopefully see you guys back tomorrow with the next Clash video. Until then, see ya and bye bye.